Alrighty. So let's get some Dead by Daylight news out here. Sorry it's been a bit, but I wanted to wait and present the news about the new chapter until I've had some time to play it, and oh my goodness, there's a lot to unpack here. Excuse me. So let's start with the obvious stuff. The twins. They came out, and you know, they look kind of cool. But after playing them, I will say they are probably the weakest killer in Dead by Daylight right now. There's only one real strategy that's effective with them, and that is to heavy slug, but I'll explain that in a minute. For those of you who don't know what the twins do, hold on a second. Wrong button. There we go. So, I'll leave this up here if you want to pause and read it, but basically the short and sweet version of their power is you're normally Charlotte, the big chick with the sickle, and you walk around as a normal killer with nothing else to do. But if you use your power, you summon Victor, you detach him from yourself, and you can control him instead. And what Victor can run around faster than the normal killer can. He can't see scratches, I don't believe, or at least he can't see new scratches, but he does see highlighted blood, and he can also charge up a pounce attack. It's pretty much exactly like Demogorgon's Shred. It's pretty much like Demogorgon's Shred, except for he doesn't have the choice of doing a basic attack. He cannot attack half charge. He has to be fully charged in order to attack. And there are two things that'll happen if he hits a survivor. If they're a healthy survivor, he will attach himself to them, giving them the incapacitated and oblivious status effects, and survivors will have to do a channel, which they can do while running, in order to get him off. And anyone who is near Victor, anyone who's near the person whenever Victor's attached will activate the killer instinct, and you will be able to see them. You can't see the person that has Victor on them until 45 seconds after he's been attached, after which you will also have the option to summon Victor back to you. This was put in to prevent hostaging, but it doesn't really help, and it was a non-fix. I'll be blunt, this entire chapter feels kind of half-assed, to be honest. And I hate to say that, but it does. Anyhow. If he hits an injured survivor, he slugs them on the floor because he will go through a stun after he hits them, as if he had hit a wall. If Victor hits a survivor or hits a wall, then there is a 3-second cooldown period in which he can be, if a survivor is nearby, kicked in the head and killed, and then he will regenerate onto Charlotte after a few seconds and can be summoned again. Now, if you decide to swap from Victor back to Charlotte, then Victor will stay where he is. You will be able to see his aura, and he will basically be like a sonar beacon. If any survivors go within a certain amount of range of him and move, because they have to be moving, this is important, then they will trigger the killer instinct, and you will know they're there, and you can swap back to Victor and cause them some problems if you'd like. So the problem with this is the twins' main way of getting pressure, attaching a survivor with Victor is not a huge downside. You're giving up your ability to pressure, and it's also your chase tool, all by just hitting a healthy survivor, and then the survivor decides when to give Victor back up. Until the most they can do it is 45 seconds before you're able to physically call him back yourself, but it's pretty rough. It's a very effective strategy. And there's also the problem of lockers still technically are supposed to hard counter Victor right now, but there's a bug at the moment, which I'll get to that in just a second too, where Victor can attack lockers. If he faces them head on and attacks them, then if a survivor's inside, he will either attach to them or down them depending on their current health state. because the system they're putting in order to prevent locker abuse has not been put in yet. So it's kind of fortunate for killers that this bug exists in order to prevent lockers from 100% countering Victor for the time being. So we'll have to wait and see what happens when that comes out. Honestly, I think it's going to make the killer even worse, because I don't have faith that they'll make the system proper. But I'll talk about the twins specifically and some more in just a moment. The rest of the chapter, almost all of the new perks are bugged, so it's really almost none of them work properly. Hillbilly currently has random overheat issues with his chainsaw. Legion, I think he still has the bug, where his frenzy doesn't give him extra movement speed. So in other words, his power is pretty much gone. Certain Killer Shack pallets can't be kicked from the outside. There are also various bugs on random things. The twins themselves are plagued by bugs. Victor can get stuck in the ground and unable to move. Victor can sometimes be summoned and then for the rest of the match not be able to use his pounce attack and therefore is useless. Sometimes if you swap too quickly, Charlotte can have a black screen, and if you just swap again, it'll fix it. Oh man, it's probably the buggiest patch we've ever had, and the community has not exactly been happy about it in the slightest. Behavior has a lot of fires to put out right now. And it's like, there's way more bugs than the ones I listed, but those are just the ones I can really think of off the top of my head. There's just a ton of them. Like, it's outrageous that this patch was shipped through with these bugs, especially with how horrible some of them are. As for the twins themselves, they're... like I said earlier, they're pretty weak. Now, the reason why they're weak is because... as you can guess by my description of the power, and as I mentioned before, they're very good at slugging. Because if you keep hitting injured survivors to Victor, you can pressure multiple survivors very well, because you'll knock one down, you can move on to the next one, or prevent a healthy survivor from healing while Victor's attached to them. And so that's all fine and dandy. What's up, buddy? So let me just show you. So this is basically how you do it. You try to get the injury, and you chase after the person. Luckily, he made it really easy for me. And now, since I can run around with Victor and go find another survivor to bother. Now let's see if I can maybe make it to the other. What was that? So the survivor I knocked down got up, unfortunately. I should have gone to him immediately, but that explosion tempted me. I think I got baited by something. I don't know how, but I think I did. But as you can see, that other survivor has kidnapped my Victor. And now I gotta chase her down to get him back. Because there's no real, there's not enough downside to having Victor on you, because you can still do almost everything normally. You just can't work on gens, and you can't heal yourself or anyone else. And that's pretty much it. That's the only downside to having Victor on you. So that means the most effective strategy, to be honest, is to take Victor if you're healthy, and take him away for 45 seconds, because that's 45 seconds the killer doesn't have a power and no form of pressure. They've also made the counterplay, I think, a bit too extensive. it takes too long for the twins to transition back and forth from each other. I have an add-on which live. I have an add-on which makes summoning Victor for the first time incredibly fast, and that's the brown one. That's the toenail or fingernail, whatever it is. But when you swap back to Charlotte, I'll try to show, as you saw when I hit that other survivor, and I'll try to show you here as well. This is hard. Hitboxes are kind of wonky again on Victor. I am doing terribly right now. Alright, got her. But it takes, I mean, look at that. So long you gotta channel for that animation, which wastes time. And it also creates a problem, even with the slugging strategy, because it takes so long to get, because you gotta chase them down with Victor, and then you gotta transition back to Charlotte, then you gotta walk all the way to your slug and hook them. There's so much downtime on this killer, it's actually absurd. As you can see, gens are flying, and there's really not a damn thing I can do about it. And then the long transition. She has no BT because she's oblivious. Yeah, she just keeps taking my Victor. I should honestly just ignore her. She's gonna try to get Victor off her, and that's fine. I don't want to waste my stacks on hitting the obsession. So she's honestly doing me a favor right now. There's some strong healing perks on them. He's just teabagging them with his key. Which leads me to believe this is a Swift, and plus they know the twins are really weak. It just takes this killer too long to do anything. Plus I don't really have a great perk build either. I should have seen that coming, to be honest. But you see, now I'm way over here. I gotta go through this transition. And now I gotta walk all the way over there to take advantage of the fact that he's slugged. Now, on the bright side, since Charlotte has no tear radius whenever I'm like that, I managed to do this. Oh. Nope. Oh shit, flashlight girl. But luckily she did it too early. Ugh, I got disoriented there for a minute. She's just gonna kick him. She just thinks she's low XD funny. Yeah, they're just doing gens. I can literally do nothing. I'm losing all my save stacks for this. Well, thanks for giving one back to me at least. Alright. I don't know what you're doing. Just feed me another save the best for last stack though, please. And now hopefully I can get some pressure off this. And now she's gonna kick him. See, that's another problem with Victor. It's too easy to take him out. I got pressure off him, but then they immediately destroyed him with no resistance. Because, I mean, look at that, and I couldn't even get over here before she got him up off the floor. Like, we're gonna live forever, botany knowledge, perks like that, they counter this killer extremely hard. Because it takes the killer too long to react to any sort of counterplay. I'm trying to be very careful with this. There we go. Problem is, this is the obsession, and I'm losing stats, but I think it was worth it for this pressure. I couldn't get over there in time. So my slug's up. Yeah, I can't get any slugs off these guys. Like, mass slugging is so important for this killer, but I can't do it. This killer, even with the slugging tactic, takes too long to get anything done. They clearly were making sure this killer was more survivor friendly, that's for sure. Aside from the part where the killer slugs a lot, but I can't see any scratches, so sucks to be me, I guess. So it just takes too long to do anything. This transition time is absurd. And then I have to walk over, do this. Yeah. Without some major upgrades, this killer is never going to be able to hack it at higher levels. This killer's too easily oh my god. And I can't swap to... That's another thing about this killer. I can't create pressure off this because the killer has anti-camping mechanics in place to where you can't swap into Victor and Charlotte. You can't swap between them if you're within a certain distance of a hook. And that is abusable by survivors because survivors being in the range has no effect on this system. So... yeah, that... I can't believe I missed. Let me see if I can slug this girl. Maybe I can at least get something off this. Oh my god. And then they can just abuse objects like that. I thought he was going to run into it, but he didn't. See? And this killer wastes too much time. If you miss, it's like... there's so much time waste. So much time waste. My best hopes to try to go for this girl on the ground. Nothing else I can do. Yep, disable the hook. And by the time I get here, she's already gone. Killer's too slow. Plain and simple. The killer is way too slow. You can't do anything in a timely manner, and that's so crucial to this killer's success. Honestly, the twins is a fun experience at first when survivors don't understand what they're dealing with, but as soon as the survivors understand anything about this killer, it instantly becomes just miserable. So, the twins are a buggy, weak mess of a killer. Honestly, I feel like this is the worst chapter to come out since the Legions chapter, and that's pretty low standard, I will say. So, I really don't have much else to say about this. I'll make another video talking about some more information that they've released recently, because I don't want to cram it all into one video. But I hope you found this somewhat informative. As for changes I would do for this killer to make them better, swap the transitioning time needs to be faster. Like, speed this killer up in as many ways as possible. I think the counterplay for this killer should be a bit more difficult. I feel like the window to kill Victor after he does a pounce is way too lenient right now. I've had survivors take their, mess up and still get the free kill on Victor just because of how long it is. Victor also needs to be more threatening. Like, that's the biggest one. Victor is only a threat, really, against injured survivors. Against healthy survivors, he's barely an inconvenience. And in fact, the survivors have the advantage when they're not injured against Victor. I feel like if someone has Victor on them, you should always be able to see the aura of the person who has Victor on them. So if you want to go after them, then you can do that and pressure them. Because it's supposed to be, the twins are supposed to hunt and joint with each other. But the problem is, they don't encourage it at all. In fact, it mostly encourages you to take everyone down with Victor and use Charlotte just to get hooks. I feel like it's a major flaw in the killer's design. So if they just gave her faster transition time, made it to where you could see the person who has Victor on them all the time, and made it to where if you held on to Victor for 30 seconds, then he would down you. Unless you're being chased, of course. Or something like that. Just something to prevent abuse, to make it to where Victor can't be held hostage, and you could still, you know, at the current moment you gain way more from having Victor on your shoulder than you lose as a survivor, and that's not how a killer's power should work. So that's kind of what I'm thinking should happen. It might help this killer a lot, I think. The faster transition time alone would shave off a lot of the, not all of them, but a lot of the problems that cause this killer to be so slow. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see what they do. It's gonna be a while before we see any major changes to the twins, I would assume. Because the devs like to take their time with these things, which normally is a good thing, but in this case it usually isn't worth the wait. And I honestly am stumped on how to, unless they give, like I said, unless they give like almost every buff I've listed, then I don't see this killer ever being viable, and that really sucks, because this is one of the most unique killers they've released. Anyhow, I hope you all enjoyed this, found this informative. If you like what you saw, do consider subscribing or joining my Twitch. It's the same as my YouTube username, Immortals, twitch.tv/Immortals96. And yeah, I hope that you'll join me for another video in the future, and have a good evening, everybody.